In today's episode of Unforced Errors and Why I Choose to Do Absolutely Everything Myself, I present to you a post that Donald Trump had put on Truth that is no longer on Truth. See if you can catch why if you haven't already heard the news. Behold.
Initiated by a court order, the Michigan investigation team obtained forensic access to a DS-200 tabulator, the machine that counts the votes. A Telit 4G wireless chip manufactured in Taiwan was discovered embedded into the motherboard. The voting machine tapes clearly indicate modem engagement and transmission of election data. Some of the anomalies that we noticed in the 2020 general elections, that 5 key states all stopped counting at a certain time in these key battleground states. These were all where the software, Dominion machines, ES&S machines were used, the Smartmatic, the GEMS software. So when the vote stopped counting, and this has been noted in other countries as well, President Trump was significantly ahead. When reporting and counting resumed,
So far, everything's normal. Just a standard, political ad about the incongruent counting in Michigan, but takes a twist at the end.
there was a massive spike occurred that favored Joe Biden.
So, I'm not laughing at the substance. I'm laughing because it's kind of funny. This happened earlier today, if you haven't heard. And I always say this, one of the good things about going at 3 o'clock in the afternoon is I've had time to let the news mature, to let the news sort of, I don't know what the word is when you put wine into a decanter, to let the news decant a little bit. And I get to get the full benefit of the initial stories, the initial reactions, and the actual story. That was an actual post that is now no longer on Truth. And as you can see, it ended with what appears to be Obama's depicted as gorillas and orangutans. Now, I'm from Canada, and although we have race relation problems in Canada, it's not quite as sensitive an issue as it is in the United States. Now, it's gotten worse in Canada since Justin Trudeau came into power and he brought up the race baiting identity politics up in Canada. One thing you cannot do is compare certain people to certain animals. You just can't do it. And it's not just the Obamas to that. Don't compare people who happen to be Jewish to rats, and you might avoid some accusations of isms or whatever you want to call it. Trump posted that, and as I watched it, I'm like, okay, first of all, my initial reaction, which was pretty close to reality, is that he didn't watch the video to the end. He saw a video that he liked, he reposted it, and didn't get to the end, much like many of us do on social media. You post the video, how did it start again? It was a great video talking about election issues up in Michigan. And he reposted, didn't get to the end, and didn't see what might have been a troll in the video. A troll insert, who knows? I don't know who. Let me take my face out here so you can see it was done by Patriot News Outlet. So that was my initial reaction. Benefit of the doubt, because nobody would do something like that maliciously because it's just not funny, even if you want it to be a troll. And the news seems to be that it was something of an error, and the sleuths of the internet have discovered that it was actually the next video coming up in some sort of auto scroll, and that whoever screen recorded it didn't clip that part out.
Joe Biden.
And you can see right now, watch. There you go. You see that? It scrolls up. Anybody who's familiar with how these things work, boom, next video comes up and plays. Well, when someone makes a mistake, good faith mistake, depending on who you are, you may or may not get the benefit of the doubt. You may or may not get forgiven. And in the world of politics, the goal is not to forgive. The goal is not to forget. The goal is to use for political fodder in as much as humanly possible. Now, Steven Crowder had a good take on this earlier today. And he said, look, even if you find that comparison racist, this was clearly a video that did not have any racist undertones to it because it was just depicting people as animals. And here you have Whoopi Goldberg as a rhinoceros. Is that a rhinoceros or a hippopotamus? What, a rhinoceros or a hippopotamus, both of which are, kind of apropos. And this is the actual video. And it was the Lion King, Donald John Trump, although he kind of scary. Am I going crazy, or does that not have a hint of Benjamin Netanyahu to it in this image? Maybe I'm going crazy, but this is Donald Trump as the king of the jungle and all of the animals bowing to him.
Now, look, if you want to take that in its whole context and still say this was clearly made to be race, whatever, fine, you can have that opinion.
as you can. And his point was that in the context, it wasn't. What it looked like at first is that someone deliberately spliced in that particular image, and as a troll at the end of a video of that was serious about election, that's what happened. Well, it does look like, in fact, it was the result of whoever shared that video or posted it, not cropping out what was the autoplay to roll right into the next one. And Mario Nafal says Trump posted a video on Truth Social claiming vote counting stopped in Kings Free States, yada, yada, yada. In the final seconds, Barack and Michelle Obama depicted as monkeys. And now, I think after the news has percolated, it appears as though it was, call it a good faith mistake. And I want to get to Miranda Devine's post on this because I think she's right. It's a mistake or sabotage. I don't blame Trump for this at all. My initial presumption was he just didn't watch it to the end and didn't realize either that was in. Miranda writes, at the White House social media, appears that the White House social media staffer was lazy and didn't check the autoplay. If it wasn't laziness, she should be removed and all videos should be double checked before posting. First of all, if it wasn't sabotage, it was at the very least laziness or a type of mistake that you can't really make in politics. I don't think I would have ever fired someone. I don't think I would fire someone if they sincerely made a mistake where it just popped up in the auto feed. It's the type of mistake that could have been any other video and it would have been inconsequential. The Dems and their, quote, rapid response and, quote, media handmaidens are dining out on this and as usual will go too far. Well, you know what? They might go too far and nobody might give one sweet bugger all. You know, the amazing thing about race relations and the sensitivity of race relations, I remember this is a memory that I have from childhood. I was at a shoe store and there was a guy who was working at the shoe store. He happened to be black and he actually happened to look like Eddie Murphy. Now, I was a kid and I had no idea that Eddie Murphy would not be working at a shoe store. And I got his autograph and I kept his autograph. And, you know, you live in a day and age where people say, well, that's racist to suggest that a black person looks like another black person. Like they say, oh, it's racist to say that a black person looks like a black actor. And I'm like, what the hell do you think I'm going to say? If someone who's Ving Rhames looking looks like Ving Rhames, I'm not going to say they look like The Rock. And I'm not going to say they look like Brock Lesnar. And we live in a world where you can have race sensitivities to the point where they become absurdities. Like when you're describing someone and you don't want to be called racist, so you describe everything about the person except for the color of their skin. Everything about the person except for the fact that they're Asian, except for the fact that they're black. You don't want to be racist. And the idea that to say, oh, it's racist to say that X looks like a black actor. If they're black, you can call that racist or I can call that logical. Now, comparing people to animals, there is a distinct stigma that goes with that. Someone can say, I look like, I don't know, a hairy baboon, and no one would cry racism, and some people might agree with that. You just can't do it. And this is the type of mistake that in politics, you just can't make. But I do think the good thing at the end of this is, A, whoever did that original meme is going to get some, I don't say unwanted, but certainly some unpredicted publicity. And I think that not many people are actually going to rage about this above and beyond the fact that innocent mistake of a humorous meme and there was nothing ill intent about it. In as much as Trump is a troll, he's not that type of troll. He's not into that type of edgy content. And for everyone freaking out at the beginning, calling Trump racist, etc., you just had to wait a couple of hours in order for the full story to come out. And I had that luxury of waiting until 3 o'clock for The Daily Show, people. Viva Frei, how goes the battle? Former Montreal litigator turned current Florida Rumbler. 3 o'clock is my afternoon slot on the Viva Rumble.